How's it going, everyone? Hello there. It is ID Square here, of course, on my Twitch and the House of D YouTube channel. Want to talk to you today about the X-Men, specifically some events that happened here in the pages of X-Force number 10. All right. Now, of course, the comic book industry is starting to gain momentum and get back up to speed after the COVID-19. And when I say after, I guess I don't mean it's done, but once Diamond Distributors and everything shut down and the comic book shops didn't get any shipments and everything was dry there. Well, for the past couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks at this point, we have been getting some new comics. In the X-Men world, we've got, of course, the Marauders and Excalibur that released after this. Those titles are well and good enough, but X-Force is definitely my numero uno there. So let's talk about it. As the title says, Wolverine and Jean Grey, they get it on. And so, spoiler alerts already for that. We'll definitely get into that, but let's talk about what's happening in the X-Force storyline right now, okay? So basically, it turns out that this South American country, small country, it's called Terra Verde, and I'm probably not saying that right because I suck at Spanish, but nonetheless, Terra Verde is a small South American country that has taken all of their resources, all of their money, and targeted it toward research on something called telefloronics, basically controlling plants. Now, they were almost there. Of course, Beast figured it out, so he kind of did some shady stuff, as he does, since he's pretty much the eyes in the sky for the X-Force team, which is an espionage, black-type, clandestine-type group. But, yeah, Beast is doing things like, again, spoiler alerts, but, arranging the assassination of Professor X and all of these things because he's looking underneath the underneath as far as when it comes to Krakoan threats. But nonetheless, he goes a little bit too far here. He meddles in this Terra Verde's research, and basically, because of what the shady stuff he did, the whole country becomes like plant zombies. The nation that they are now in, the land that they occupy in Terra Verde, is now much like Krakoa and requires a daily sacrifice. So they've got human, or at least plant human sacrifices. So in order to stop this, they of course send in an X-Force team. Wolverine, Domino, and Kid Omega. And boy, is Kid Omega just as annoying as ever. I really despise that character. He's very, very powerful, of course, as he can basically do anything with his mind. He makes all sorts of weapons with his mind and whatnot. Blah, 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 blah. But he's a real big jerk. Wolverine and Domino are pretty much themselves. But nonetheless, they are quickly overwhelmed by these plant monster human hybrid type things. So they send in Black Tom Cassidy to save the day. Why not? He controls plants. That's what he does. But unfortunately, he can't control these, telefloronic plants. He can't. He's losing. He's not going to be able to save the day like he wants to. Fast forward a little bit. We actually see that Jean Grey has found out a lot of the shady stuff that Beast has done. And I'm talking about underneath the underneath. Because, of course, X-Force in itself is shady. Jean Grey knows this, as she is part of the team. She knows this. But what Beast has done, the things that he does, it goes beyond that. They have a conflict. But in the end, Jean Grey knows that things have to be fixed. And so she grabs Sage. Her and Sage go to this Terra Verde where, Black Tom Cassidy is currently losing his battle. Wolverine, Kid Omega, and Domino are basically all but dead. Thanks to Jean Grey, though, her idea is for them to actually link up, synergize each other's powers in order to work together. They're able to do this, and Black Tom is able to control these plants and basically make the situation go away. So, yay. And again, this is actually issue 10. This is actually the end, of a story arc, with this Terra Verde stuff. But, these telefloronics, they're out there. This country got dangerously close to basically replicating the stuff that Krakoa does. Nonetheless, though, so let's get to the title of the chat here, which of course is that Wolverine and Jean Grey get it on. So basically, in this panel, you see the end of the battle there. But then you see Wolverine in a hot tub, and who comes to join him in her little bikini? That's right, Marvel Girl, otherwise known as Jean Grey. Okay? Nothing quite too serious yet, although you do see, she's embracing him while they're in the hot tub. And they have a conversation about the goings-on, which is kind of nice because one of the things that actually has kind of disappointed me about this X-Force series is that Colossus was on the cover of X-Force #1 and supposed to be on the team, although we've seen very little of him. We heard about everything he did in Russia, for the Russian mutants trying to gain refuge, at Krakoa, since Russia isn't letting them go. He actually died and was resurrected. And as always, Colossus is kind of in the head, after certain events, and dying and resurrected is definitely one of them. We do see him and Domino, kind of have a sweet mission, but then again, at some point, Colossus ends up killing everyone on this train, which turns out to be okay because Domino wanted to be resurrected since she was scarred. And we're not going to go into those weeds too much, but nonetheless, we've not seen a lot, hide nor hair, of Colossus. And during this conversation that Wolverine and Jean Grey have, Jean Grey basically comes to the conclusion that she's leaving the team. It's just not for her, and Wolverine predicted as much. So she suggests that Colossus be a part of the team. That Colossus has a big heart. And she's right. She's absolutely right. And it gives me a lot of hope that I will actually see Colossus on this team. But nonetheless, so we end up here, though. Jean Grey cuddled up to old Wolverine there, chugging a beer. And look at that. So in X-Men, Hickman has certainly hinted at this menage-a-trois relationship between Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey. And this all but confirms it. I mean, Jean Grey and Wolverine, obviously it doesn't show them having sex, but yeah. He's going to round third and he's going to head home for sure. You can count on that for certain. So tell me, what do you think? Is this out of character for Jean Grey or Wolverine? Are you finding that Hickman is writing a lot of these characters out of character? Tell me, what you're thinking here. Are you enjoying what Hickman's doing with the X-Men and the X-Force run? I'm enjoying it. I think it's interesting. I love the X-Men being in the forefront. I debated this with 8-Bit Ray on Superhero Speak podcast, as far as it was Hickman good or not. And, one of Ray's points, per his hate of Hickman, other than canceling some X-Men series, which I argued was fine because he doubled the amount of series. But nonetheless, part of his hatred is these are not the X-Men that we knew. These aren't our old X-Men. And he's absolutely right. There's a lot of questions to be answered. There's a lot of X-Men that are acting outside of their character. So this really leads me to believe that something has got to give in the X universe. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments below of Hickman's writing so far. Now, obviously, X-Force is not written by Jonathan Hickman. It is written by Benjamin Percy. But make no mistake, Hickman is controlling the overall narrative in the X-Men universe. So he may not be the one that is writing the individual books outside of the X-Men main title, but he definitely is directing everything. He's definitely the Kevin Feige of the X-Men comic universe. I like it so far, although I do think some parts of it are troubling and some unanswered questions are certainly giving me some trouble. But again, I love him being in the forefront, and the story is pretty cool. It is cool to see the mutants, not at extinction's door. But the political turmoil that they find themselves in now that they're in a nation and they're involved in the black market from their medicines, that's just an interesting part because but essentially we're going right back to the mutants versus everybody else. So we'll definitely see where this goes. All right, guys. So again, in the comments, let me know what you guys think of the Dawn of X title so far and where we're at with the X-Force here. Again, we just got past a major story arc, and it ended in a crescendo of Wolverine and Jean Grey in a hot tub together, getting it on. All right. Other than that, guys, just want to mention that this was also released today. God Loves Man Kills Extended Cut. This is, of course, one of two. This is a variant cover. This is a classic storyline written, of course, by none other than Chris Claremont. I actually just read the original graphic novel. Yeah, I can actually see it right there. But this is an extended cut, so it's definitely, I haven't read it yet, so I definitely want to see what the differences are going to be. But whether it be going out there and grabbing the extended cut or going out and getting the graphic novel, definitely recommend and really advocate for you picking up God Loves Man Kills. It's a great storyline of the X-Men, written by the master of X-Men himself, Chris Claremont. All right, well, other than doing some streaming later, that's it, guys. Again, X-Force number 10 released this week, and it does contain Wolverine and Jean Grey doing the hunka-chunka. You also kind of get to see Quentin Quire die, which I very much enjoyed. Although obviously with the X-Men and their resurrection protocol, even if he was actually killed, he would be resurrected in his old jerky self. All right. Enough of my personal vitriol about one character. Instead, I shall say peace and love. And I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon.